Okay, I'm gonna show the a mistied Harry Butler's Yosemite Bowline, and then do a little bounce test on it, um, just down in my basement. Okay, so first I'm going to. I'll show you that it's actually kind of hard to mistie. Um, so at this point, so we've got the bowline created right now. This is the left-handed version. And what I'm going to want to do is um, wrap around back into the tie-in ring and then back through. And the way you would get the mistied version is this Yosemite finish, this wraparound, needs to switch places. It's a little hard to see, but this needs to switch places um, like so. You basically have to push this loop below, or the nipping loop below the Yosemite finish. So um, that happens if you tie a super loose bowline. So if your bowline initial knot is very loose, and then you were to tug on the tail after you do the Yosemite finish, you can swap places and then get the mistied Yosemite finish. Um, so I'm purposefully doing that right now, but it's hard to do in practice. And then we'll do the final wraparound finish for the Harry Butler version. And at the end, it looks kind of similar to the correctly tied one, except the if you actually trace the main eye of the knot and find where this strand is going, it's actually on the bottom of, and so like the load strand wraps around the bottom of the knot as opposed to in the center of the knot, and so that's mistied, and this basically defeats the whole point of this nipping loop, which would be to pinch down on these strands in the center. So there should be 3 strands going through the nipping loop, but there's only 2, as you can see here. So, alright, now I will attach. And I just have a standard bowline up there. So that's just body weight on it right now. I haven't actually taken a fall on it. Oh, I'll go ahead and try a little fall. So, okay, that was a little disconcerting. Pretty hard force generated. Alright. It's lighter. Okay. So from here. Alright. It's quite a lot of force. It's still holding. The knot is probably enough to catch a leader fall in this variation, but it's I don't know if you can. I'll show you the knot. Untie this. It's changed its geometry quite a bit under the load, the heavy loading. So it's definitely not a bowline anymore at this point. It stopped being a bowline the moment we switched the Yosemite finish and the nipping loop. So this knot looks like it, and what I was observing when I was doing some pull testing on it earlier, it seemed to just shrink the eye. It wasn't trying to actually undo itself. This tail wasn't going back through the knot, but the eye was shrinking, and that's kind of weird. So it was pulling rope out this way, out the load strand, and from inside the knot. So at some point, probably, well, it'll just bind up so much. This probably won't actually undo itself. But it's not a knot that you'd want to actually use for any point or purpose. It's just showcasing that the knots not, you know, it's mistying the Yosemite, which you shouldn't do, but adding that extra wraparound does add some security to the actual to the bowline. And so finally, I'll just show what happens if we did the Yosemite without that extra wrap, and it might actually fail on me. We'll see. So again, I have to like purposefully misplace those strands, and then the knot starts to load really weirdly. It starts to kind of turn on itself just when I try to self-tighten it. Like, clearly that's a not a bowline anymore at this point. So I misplaced the strands, and we'll try doing one more load test. So, here, I'll make this easier on myself. I am enjoying this quicker way to tie the bowline, snap bowline. Less so for tying in, but it's nice for tying the bowline pretty quickly. Okay, so that's ready. And now we're loaded. Okay. Do a small test. Alright, it's still holding. Oh, okay. So that's a really bad sign. Pulling rope through the tail, just so this knot, this tie-in point for the eye of the knot has shrunk down super small. So at this point now, it might start to pull the tail through the knot. So we've got still quite a lot of tail to go, but I'll go ahead and do one more hard fall. And one more. Okay. Alright, the tail doesn't seem to be moving anymore, but it did initially tighten the knot quite a lot, tighten this eye. So it's a fixed eye knot. It shouldn't actually change the shape of the eye. The bowline is, but in this case it is changing the shape, so it's very unstable at that point. And I wouldn't trust it for any any life critical applications. So yeah, hopefully this helped clarify, you know, the risks of the Yosemite bowline and the Perry Butler version of the Yosemite bowline, that you should really make sure that you tie a proper bowline first. Take some of the slack out of the knot, and then when you tie the Yosemite finish, it's almost impossible if the first bowline is sufficiently tight to swap those strands. So, all right.